Welcome to the top of the Rockies, Society of Professional Journalists. And welcome everyone from not just Colorado, but Utah, Wyoming, and New Mexico. Thanks for making it. I'm Michael Deoanna. I'm a member of the SPJ Colorado Pro board. And I'd like to introduce our board. Come on up, guys. Come on up, everyone. This is our Colorado board. Yeah, Colorado board. I was going to say pros, the pros. Thank you. Before we get started with awards, we have a few announcements to make. The first one is, we lost a real champion in journalism this year, and a champion of ethics in journalism. SPJ board member Mark Harden is going to tell you a little more about Fred Brown.
Thank you, Michael. Hi, everyone. A reading from the works of Fred Brown. Seek truth and report it and think, shunning favors, free tickets, and drink. Please minimize harm and sound the alarm when someone goes over the brink. Fred Brown loved limericks. And so he composed that one as an ode to something he loved and cherished, the Society of Professional Journalists Code of Ethics. Fred believed that for journalists to stand tall, they need a backbone constructed of core principles: seek truth and report it, minimize harm, act independently, be accountable and transparent. It's a code of professional conduct that Fred spent much of his adult life crafting, revising, and commenting on as a leader of SPJ, both at the local, regional, and national level. As most of you know, we lost Fred a few weeks ago at age 85 following a stroke. And as we celebrate excellence in journalism tonight, we thought it fitting to pause a moment and reflect on the work of a man who helped all of us define what journalism excellence is. Fred spent decades covering government and politics on the staff of the Denver Post, which is where I worked with him for many years, and where he brilliantly led our state government coverage. He was a longtime political analyst at Denver's 9 News, and he taught journalism ethics at the University of Denver. Here at SPJ, Fred was our brother, our mentor, our guiding light, and our ethical soul. He served a term as National SPJ President in 1997, and at times he was our Rocky Mountain Region 9 Director and also was President of our Colorado chapter. At the time of his death, he was a member of the board of the SPJ Foundation, which supports our society's educational mission, and which today had its first meeting without him. Journalistic ethics were always front of mind for Fred, so much that his email address began with Ethical Fred. He was a former chair of SPJ's National Ethics Committee. He helped rewrite its code of ethics and wrote and edited SPJ's ethics book. Nearly 3 decades ago, he first proposed the idea for SPJ's Ethics Week, which this year begins April 27th. Not long after Fred's death, SPJ's National Board voted to rename its annual award for ethics the Fred Brown SPJ Ethics and Journalism Award. Our chapter thanks Dan Axelrod, the current National Ethics Chair for SPJ, for proposing the name change. In 2006, SPJ honored Fred with its Wells Memorial Key, our highest honor, for outstanding service to the society. In nominating Fred, Deb Hurley-Brobst, who is now our chapter president, wrote this, quote, "Fred is always there. He stands for the principles that SPJ holds dear: honesty, integrity, intelligence, and an incredibly strong commitment to journalism ethics." In 2024, our chapter presented Fred with our Journalist of the Year award. Fred also somehow found time for other roles in his quest to promote and improve journalism. He was a longtime member of the Colorado Freedom of Information Coalition and was its board secretary at the time of his death. Our mutual former colleague, Jeff Roberts, executive director of CFOIC, writes that Fred, quote, cared deeply about access to government information as well as news media ethics. Over the years, his wisdom and knowledge have been instrumental in CFOIC's mission to protect the public's right to know, end quote. And as if that weren't enough, Fred was a former president of the Denver Press Club and in 2003 was enshrined in the Denver Press Club Hall of Fame. Outside of his official roles, Fred was always generous in sharing his insights, whether it was talking to Corey Hutchins and Beth Potter's students or imparting wisdom to Marco Cummings when Marco was one of Fred's students at DU. Let me send page. Oh, sorry. Marco vividly recalls one of Fred's lessons. Quote, the most ethical decision is almost always the most difficult one. Doug Bell speaks for many of us when he says, quote, Fred was the first phone call for many of us when we were faced with a sticky ethical situation. And Fred's personal qualities came through as powerfully as his guidance about journalism. Adam Schrager, a former political reporter who was Fred's colleague at 9 News, says that Fred, quote, was the most decent and patient man I have ever met in the political world. In the news business, which is known for sharp elbows and loud opinions, Fred Brown was a gentleman with vast talent and a bone-dry wit. Recently, I was privileged to work alongside Fred again, this time on our chapter board as we took up causes he cherished. Kara Mason feels the same way. She writes, quote, I served many SPJ board terms alongside Fred. I feel lucky to be able to say that, end quote. Fred meant a lot to me, personally and professionally, and his passing hits hard. Corey wrote recently that for Fred, journalism, quote, might have been more of a religion than a profession. That may help explain why I sometimes think to myself, what would Fred Brown do? Here at SPJ Colorado, we will always hold Fred in our hearts, and our love goes out to Mary Brown, his wife, and all who knew and worked with him. One way you can honor Fred's memory is by joining us at SPJ Colorado as a member and help us further the causes that Fred helped so deeply about. You can find out how to become a member at our website, spjcolorado.org, and click on Join. Our chapter will be joining with CFOIC in hosting a celebration of Fred's life on May 7th at the Denver Press Club. We hope you can join us. You'll find out more information on how to RSVP for that at spjcolorado.org. And a final note, just tonight, our chapter board met and voted to create an annual ethics award for Colorado, and that award henceforth will be known as the Ethical Fred. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. SPJ Colorado Pro chapter is committed to helping the next generation of journalists kickstart their careers. Doug Bell, I could think of no other champion than you to speak about this.
Hello, everybody. In my role on the SPJ board, I visit every journalism school in the state, sometimes twice a year. I had 16 visits this year, and I promote our scholarships, but I also mostly promote SPJ's venerable code of ethics. Anytime I'm lecturing on ethics at any school or anywhere, I always feel like Fred is in the room with me. Fred was a mentor and a colleague and a friend for more than 3 decades. Breathe. Lately, I've been thinking about a day when I was speaking to Fred's class at DU. And Fred and I found ourselves in a vigorous disagreement over an ethical dilemma. Fred, of course, was calm and logical and erudite, as he always was. I was not. I've never met another person who could be so agreeable in disagreement. it was definitely a Fred sort of moment, and it will be among the ones it'll be among the memories that I hold on to. Fred was a mentor to many of us. And so I think it is especially appropriate that tonight we announce that SPJ Colorado has launched a mentorship program. We've so far matched 7 pros with students from around the state, with more to come. These professional journalists have made a 1-year commitment to offer advice and guidance to students on their work and their careers. Interested pros and students can visit the Colorado SPJ website for more information. But on this night, I have the best job of anybody on Colorado SPJ Pro, and that is to announce our annual scholarship winners. So I'm going to tell you about them tonight, and as I name each one, I'd like them to stand. Tonight we honor 13 Colorado journalism students with scholarships totaling $16,000. That's a modern day record, by the way, both in number of scholarships and in the total amount. 2 are high school seniors. 2 are siblings. All are highly deserving. We had 33 applicants this year, which is another record for recent times. These 2 scholarships honor Helen Verba, a devoted member of Sigma Delta Chi, which is now SPJ. She worked at the Denver Post from 1951 until her retirement in 1978. She joined the Post in its radio and TV department, worked on the society desk, and became club editor in 1971. Our broadcast scholarship honors Sheldon Peterson, an assistant general manager for public affairs at KMGH-TV in Denver. Peterson moved to Denver in 1938 to become a reporter for the Denver Post. He left Denver briefly to work in Chicago, but returned in 1947 to become news director at KLZ. Now I'd like you to welcome our scholarship winners for this year. Veronica Bianco. Stand, please. Veronica, you better raise your hand because everybody's standing up. Where are you? Veronica is our top winner this year. She is getting a $2,000 Verba scholarship. She's studying political science and journalism at Colorado College, where she's a member of the soccer team and serves as editor-in-chief of the CC Outdoor Journal. She also writes for the student newspaper, plays the bassoon in the chamber orchestra, and works for the outdoor education department. She's originally from Portland, Oregon, and loves playing the guitar, learning about aviation, and spending time outside. Let's give her a round of applause. So I gotta say that I don't meet any of these students typically until tonight. So if you saw me wandering around looking at every young face in the room earlier, what I was trying to do was figure out who these scholarships were going to. Next up, Sydney McGarr from Colorado College. Sydney, are you here?
Not here, in Spain.
In Spain. Oh, well, I can't fault her for that one. Sydney will be receiving a $2,000 Verba scholarship. She's a third-year student at Colorado College studying journalism, English, and Spanish. She's passionate about protecting the future of student media and has served in several roles at Colorado College's student-led newspaper. Most recently as head news editor. Originally from Nashville, Tennessee, she enjoys rock climbing and long-distance running outside of her writing. Next up, Aries Tuart, University of Northern Colorado. Aries, you're here, right? Raise your hand. She'll be receiving a $1,500 Peterson Scholarship. She's a sophomore studying journalism and media studies at the University of Northern Colorado, working toward being a producer in film and television to bring diverse representation to the media. They would like to thank their parents, Anthony and Desiree, close friends Valerie and Evelyn, and partner Daly. This is the best name I've ever heard. Gethsemane Sheldon, Longmont High School. Raise your hand. I know you're here. Where are you? Grace is an aspiring political journalist who's hoping to take her work from her high school yearbook to international publications. She believes that unbiased stories from unheard voices are a powerful tool to educate and connect the world. Grace would like to thank her mother, her best friends, and her teachers for supporting her writing and her dreams. Fairly rare for us to give high school students this scholarship, but we have a second. Kyle Wynn, are you here? There's his hand. Kyle's a student at Denver East High School. He's getting a $1,500 Peterson Scholarship. Kyle loves his family, God, and sports, especially college football, which he could talk about for hours. He loves anything to do with the outdoors, whether that be hiking or mountain biking. Plans to go to KU to become a play-by-play commentator. Yes, we have a KU person. Next up is Bella Hauk from Colorado College, receiving a $1,500 Peterson Scholarship. Bella's having car trouble, so she did not make it this evening. She's a junior at CC studying film and media with a minor in journalism. Through documentary filmmaking, audio reporting, and written storytelling, she is dedicated to uncovering meaningful stories within her community and amplifying individual voices. Her work reflects a deep commitment to thoughtful journalism and creative storytelling. Time for our two sisters. Anna Olson from the University of Iowa. She'll be receiving a $1,000 Verba Scholarship. She's a first-year student at the University of Iowa studying journalism and political science, currently working at the Daily Iowan, where her sister also works. She's a politics reporter there, a designer, and a digital producer. Anna graduated from Arapahoe High School in 2025 and hopes to pursue a career as a reporter. Anna's not here, right? Anna? No, I didn't think so. Grace Olson, also from the University of Iowa, also a $1,000 Verba Scholarship. Grace is a rising senior at U of I, double majoring in journalism and mass communications and English literature. She will serve as the executive editor of the Daily Iowan for the 2026-27 school year and has worked for the newspaper since her freshman year of college. We gave Grace a scholarship in previous years. Interesting that her sister will be working for her. Grace hopes to continue working in newsrooms after graduation and has a strong interest in features and digital reporting. Grace is not here, correct? One of the sisters just got back from Europe last night and was too jet lagged to make it. So, next up, Karma Robbins, $1,000 Peterson Scholarship, a student at Colorado State University. Karma, are you with us? Apparently not. Karma is from Huntington Beach, California. She will be a senior, continuing to work at her school's news station for her 4th year. Growing up, she always wanted to be a news anchor and make a change in the world. One day, she hopes to have her own show and host everyone and anyone on it. Kylie Hoffman, Colorado Mesa University. I know Kylie is here. Raise your hand. Kylie, where are you? Kylie will receive a $1,000 Peterson Scholarship for next year. A Colorado native, Kylie has developed a deep passion for stories that bring the local community together. She believes the best stories happen right in our own backyards and wants to give a voice to all unique individuals. Through a commitment to storytelling and strong community connection, Kylie has decided to pursue broadcast journalism and aspires to be a local news reporter. Avabel LaForce. Also a great name, by the way. She'll be receiving a $1,000 scholarship, a Verba scholarship. She's a student at Colorado State University, a sophomore studying journalism and media communications. She has always loved to read and write, so most of her interest is in written journalism. Yay. But she also enjoys trying different forms of journalism and media. She hopes to one day work for a newspaper or magazine reporting on important current events. Luke Purvis. Luke, are you here? You're supposed to be here. Luke will be receiving a $500 Verba scholarship. He's a student at Colorado State University. Luke is a former community college student who transferred to CSU. He has been working all over journalism for the past 2 years. He currently is interning with Colorado Student News Service, run by board member Beth Potter, reporting for the Durango Herald and the Cortez Journal. Also works for Culture Current magazine. His ideal job would be working in depth with high security jobs or military bases in investigative journalism. But he admits he still spends way more time in the gym than writing. Robert Sides. There he is. Robert's a student at Colorado State University. He will receive a $500 Peterson scholarship. He's majoring in journalism and media communication and minoring in economics. He anchors news shows at CTV11, the student television station. He's also the treasurer of CSU's chapter of the Society of Professional Journalists. That's our 13 winners. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, so now on to our major awards. Each year, we recognize exceptional journalism and the journalists who create it, as well as some in the community who've inspired us. Educator of the Year, first up, Beth Potter.
This is continuing on a mentorship theme for me personally. This is the picture we decided to use. Yes, so we had difficult competition for Educator of the Year this year, and we chose Doug Cosper for his work teaching and mentoring young journalists over his career, both domestically and overseas. One of the people that Doug mentored was me, and I worked at the Daily Camera with him and Carol and Chris Roberts. They were on a pod. They were the pod, and they allowed me as the newbie young journalist in the newsroom to come with them sometimes to lunch, and they would mentor me and tell me things that were kind of at the exalted high level of the newsroom and that I wouldn't have heard otherwise. And so I want to introduce Carol, Doug's wife. Doug passed away from cancer last summer, and Carol will accept this award posthumously for him. Carol's here with their daughter, Alethea, as well. I told you about working with them at the Daily Camera. And then when I talked to Carol yesterday, she kind of reminded me a little bit more about some of the other things that they did together, that we all did, actually, which included, actually, Doug spent a lot of time at various countries teaching journalists in these countries about how we do it in the United States. And you may say to yourself that we don't have very many rights here and we're complaining about all these things that are happening with free press and free speech, but boy, Doug would come home with some stories. And so when we all would get together, I also had been overseas a bit and would tell him, oh, I didn't see it, it wasn't that bad, where I was. And so I don't know, can I tell the story I was telling you yesterday? Sure. One time we were all sitting down and having lunch, and we were talking about Doug giving a seminar to all of these students. And on the break, they had 15 minutes. One of the students came up to him and said, I want to tell you something, Mr. Cosper. And he said, okay. And she said, the people who censor us, the people that you are talking about actually are in this room here with us, acting as if they are us. And I said, Doug, you've got to be kidding me. I mean, were you scared that you were going to get arrested? And he said, no, I was there with USAID. I felt perfectly safe. And I just said, I couldn't even believe that story, because when I would go overseas, if you saw people, if you actually saw the people who were the ones doing the things that we say to ourselves that we can't even imagine this happens in other countries, that was a sign that you were probably going to be the next person who was detained. So with all of that, I think Carol might have something more to say about Doug's work, including his overseas work. And so I'm going to turn the microphone over to her.
She's wearing heels and I'm not. Well, as Beth said, I met Doug at the Daily Camera. It was some 30 years ago now, when we worked together on some stories, and of course we also had our separate beats, but we did win a couple of SPJ awards back in the early 90s, and so it's kind of like full circle coming here today, and I'm very thankful to the organization for recognizing his work as an educator. Doug taught at CU Boulder in the journalism school for several years, and then also, as Beth said, in about a dozen third world countries in Asia, Africa, Eastern Europe, and other places. He was an excellent journalist who decided to go into teaching, which I think was really his real passion. He cut his teeth in journalism in Tyler, Texas, which was his hometown, and he used to love covering Texas because there were all kinds of things that happened there that he told stories about throughout his career, entertaining students around the world with stories about Billy Bob. So after that, he moved to the Netherlands and he worked for UPI, the wire service, there as a foreign correspondent in The Hague. He came back. As I said, he was in Colorado, and that was when we met. But his true gift, I think, was as a teacher and a mentor. He inspired and coached thousands of students around the world. His style was not to lecture, but to meet students where they were and to help them develop the reporting skills and the news judgment to succeed, but above all, accuracy and fairness that would, guide them throughout their careers. Students responded well to his toughness, and many kept in touch with him for years after being in his class. I wanted to share with you just the breadth of his work, and his impact was rather astounding. He coached professional journalists and newspapers in Myanmar and East Timor. He started student newspapers in Romania, Botswana, and Azerbaijan. He coached radio journalists in South Sudan. And he brought more than a dozen Palestinian journalists for a course at CU Boulder. He had tons of stories, as you can imagine, and so he lived a very rich life, and was as thankful for the opportunity to teach as the students were to have him. So I thank you very much for that recognition.
Okay, and now to our Keeper of the Flame Award, Michael Karlik from our board will present.
Keeper of the Flame Award is a recognition of career achievement. It encompasses the excellence of a journalist's work, their contributions to the profession, their dedication to ethical and responsible journalism, and their mentorship of younger journalists. Linda Carpio Shapley is receiving this award today. Linda has spent more than 30 years in journalism, beginning at Colorado State University and continuing to this day, coincidentally, at Colorado State University. Many of you are aware that Linda was the editor-in-chief of the Rocky Mountain Collegian when she attended CSU, and then she moved on to the Denver Post, Colorado Politics, and Colorado Community Media. Right now, she is the interim president and CEO of Rocky Mountain Student Media at CSU. I'd like to share what Linda's co-workers in this profession recall about her to illustrate how deserving she is of this award. And again, the guideposts are excellence, contributions to journalism, and mentorship. Noelle Phillips of the Denver Post said she still describes Linda as a glue person, meaning someone who holds everyone together, looking out for everybody, making sure people are treated fairly and rewarded for hard work. Noelle remembered having a prominent story on the front page in the Denver Post that had an error in it. The main subject of the story, who was a powerful attorney, was very upset, and Noelle had to call the editor on duty to work through the problem. She said she was relieved it was Linda, because Linda would hold her accountable without making her feel worse. Newsrooms can be harsh places, Noelle said, and Linda was not the type of editor to make the room even more stressful. Gregory Moore, who was the editor of the Denver Post for 13 years, said Linda was critical to the redesign and management of the state's largest newspaper. She helped devise a security system for the Post's building downtown during the Occupy Denver protests. She created a front page graphic commemorating September 11th that listed the names of everyone who died with the shading of the words recreating the Twin Towers. And when a man murdered a dozen people in an Aurora movie theater and the Post worked round the clock, Linda played an important role in pushing out information to readers and making sure everyone working remotely had the resources they needed. That coverage ultimately won the Pulitzer Prize. Greg also remembered that Linda wasn't shy about telling him when he was wrong, and he appreciated that. He also appreciated her creation of something called Denver Post University, which trained staff on the cutting edge technology of the time, like Twitter and Facebook and video. Linda would explain to veteran reporters that if they didn't learn these skills, they could get left behind. And Greg said Linda did it in a way that made people understand the Post wasn't trying to get rid of them, it was trying to help them. But unavoidably, there were severe budget cuts during her time at the Post. Leanna Efert, who is Linda's friend and former co-worker at the Post, said Linda agonized about the hard choices to lay people off. But Leanna thought it was nice to have someone in management who knew how disruptive this was for people and who wanted what was best for them. It's evident that Linda immerses herself in this profession and wants to build up those who are newer to the field of journalism. Her newsroom leadership includes time heading up Colorado Community Media and also being my former boss at Colorado Politics. I remember working for her in March 2020, and one of my stories was scheduled to be on the cover of our print magazine. One day she decided, you know, I really think our cover story should be about what's going on with this coronavirus. And that ended up being the right call. I also remember how supportive she was when I proposed collaborating on a story with another early career reporter completely outside of our media outlet. She thought it was a great opportunity to work across competitors, and she was even willing to get on the phone with us at 8 p.m. on a Saturday because we got word the Denver Post was also working on the same story we were. And the two of us reporters and Linda went line by line on the phone to fact check and edit our version of the story so that we'd be ready to publish at a moment's notice if the Post beat us. In the course of this nominations process, a lot of people wanted to talk about Linda. Elena Alvarez of Axios said her grit is what has caused multiple newsrooms to succeed. Vince Bizdek of the Gazette said she puts the people who work for her first. Lynn Bartles said she is an expert in so many of the areas needed to run a newsroom. Hannah Metzger of Westward told me 15 minutes ago that Linda provided her a welcoming introduction to the journalism profession, and that set her up for success. The SPJ chapter board had multiple accomplished nominees for this award, but we have selected Linda because she exemplifies all of the pillars of the Keeper of the Flame: contributions to the profession, dedication to journalistic excellence, and being a mentor to those entering this field. Please give a hand to Linda Carpio Shapley.
I just have to tell you, I was beyond honored when Mark Harden gave me the call that I was going to be receiving this award. And I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of like, as many of you know me, I was speechless, but which was kind of surprising. But in the last 20 minutes, I've come up with just a few things that I want to share with you. So essentially, I think that there are a lot of quotes that I, throughout the course of my time at the Post, at Colorado Politics, and all of the newsrooms that I've worked on, that I have a tendency to come back to in terms of what's really important to me. The first one, I'm going to mangle this, and Rosanna was kind of help coaching me through this, but one of them is, dime con quien andos y dire quien eres, which means tell me who you walk with, and I'll tell you who you are. And I am so lucky to have been born in a family of storytellers, which really encouraged me to find journalism as the way to help tell those stories and to help raise voices that I thought were really important to be heard. I walked along with a newsroom, and many newsrooms of people who were loud, who were profane, and probably the smartest people in the world in terms of just knowing that I was home when I walked into those newsrooms. I'm so grateful for my family, my very patient family, who my kids, I think, spent probably way too much time in the Denver Post newsroom while I was like, one more minute and then we'll go. And essentially just so I could make sure that I was answering a question, getting the information they had done. My husband, I've told this story so many times and he hates it when I tell it, but when I was pregnant with Graham, with our oldest, he said, well, you have the career, I just have a job. And so he quit working in the Post back shop in order to stay home and take care of our kids so that way I could continue to move on in my career. So I'm super grateful for that. Another quote that I want to give to all of you is to bloom where you're planted. It's always been a case of copy editors is where I started out at the Post. It's where I started out at the Collegian. And essentially, it's kind of a position that's not that glorious in a lot of ways. You're there late. You're the last person in there. You're calling reporters while they're at dinner, and they're not happy to be hearing from you. But I wanted so much to just make sure that I made the best opportunity of what I had. And so then I would look for other things, and I would end up doing some amazing work. I worked with Dana on a great section at the Denver Post called Colorado Sunday that I was just glorious, and I enjoyed it so much. But those kinds of things of being able to work across departments, of volunteering, I often tell I often, Ed will often regale me now with the fact that I need to stop saying yes when people ask me to do things. But essentially, I know that that's one of the reasons why I'm standing up here is because I said yes. And I'm on the board for the Denver Voice. I'm on the board for, I was on the board for the Colorado Press Association. And I just have had so many opportunities to get to meet so many of you. And I'm so excited to be part of that. One phrase that always kind of sticks with me is to be the leader you needed when you were younger. And I think in a lot of ways, that's one of the things that has, throughout the course of my life, I've essentially been working with younger and younger journalists as I kind of go through. And I want to make sure that they have the support that I had, and even more so, in order to make sure that I am really putting forth just kind of the best future for this business. Because I really do think that it has such a great future, and there are so many opportunities, and there are so many faces in this room that I'm just so proud that I got an opportunity to talk to, that I got an opportunity to support, and as anybody who's in my phone contacts, you know that I will answer if you call me, because that to me is something that's really important. And this business is something that is really hard, especially where we are right now. But I think that we all need that opportunity to just make sure that we're doing, I'm so excited to see where this business goes and how much it can change. And so as keeper of the flame in a fire season, I'm going to try really hard to make sure that I'm keeping it within my hearts. But one of the places I want to put it, this is a phrase that Rosana helped me with. Vamos todos ahora a prender el fuego. So, but essentially what that means is to make sure that you're lighting that fire, you're keeping it with you, and I want to use that light, I want to light that fire underneath all your asses to make sure that we're doing our best work.
Prior to the job I have now, Linda was my boss at CCM. I just wanted to say that. And that the board's decision to give her this award was completely unanimous. We see that as just a celebration of the great support that she's given journalists over the years. Now to our First Amendment Award. Deb, are you giving this award? Oh, Kara's giving this award.
Hi all, my name is Kara Mason. I'm a board member here at SPJ Colorado Pro. This evening I'm presenting our chapter's annual First Amendment Award, which recognizes journalists and allies who embody and support the exercise of a free and fair press, speak truth to power, and go above and beyond to hold governments accountable. Sometimes we name an individual for this award, but this year we've done something a little different. We've elected a citizen to take this award, and the story starts in March 2022, still mostly working from home 2 years after the Aurora Sentinel editor Dave Perry sent us there in an attempt to flatten the curve. I'm sure we all remember that. I sat on a Zoom call with Dave and our city reporter and our lawyer. It was about a closed city council meeting. Again, that happened often. In the 6 years I worked at the Sentinel and mentioned my place of employment to another journalist, the first comment would always be about how hard it is to get information out of that city government. But this particular meeting was different. The city wasn't budging, and neither were we. If you know Dave Perry, you know that to be true. The Aurora City Council had an executive session to receive legal advice about a censure proposal directed at now former council member Danielle Jurinsky. She was appearing on a radio show a few months earlier where she called the police chief and deputy police chief trash. She called for their removal of office. As a result of that closed meeting, the Sentinel requested records from the executive session, claiming that the meeting was wrongly shielded from public view. That request was denied, so the Sentinel asked the district court to weigh in on the matter. In 2024, so 2 years later, A state appeals court ruled that the city did indeed violate state open meeting laws. It was a win. However, the court panel ruled against the Sentinel's request for attorney fees from the city. The persons and citizens standing to collect attorney's fees, the Sentinel, as a newspaper entity, did not qualify. By this time, I had moved on from the Sentinel, but the case kept bouncing along the legal system as they do, thanks to the Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press and persistence Sentinel staffers are well known for. To make a long legal battle story short, this past October, the Colorado Supreme Court ruled that the Aurora Sentinel is in fact a citizen and therefore can recoup attorney's fees. The decision sets an important precedent for Colorado journalists and media organizations, especially as accessing public records becomes increasingly difficult. I'm sure many of you have had the same experience as we did at the Sentinel over the last, forever. The Sentinel's years-long fight is a bright spot for all of us and is a reminder of how much effort, time, and money goes into maintaining a free press and open government. The Supreme Court ruling benefits all of Colorado journalism and our community and our audiences by ensuring that we can challenge our government, all of our governing bodies, and recoup fees when they are in the wrong. So, it's an honor to be able to present this First Amendment Award to the Aurora Sentinel as a whole, the citizen, for being impactful in the mission to uphold the First Amendment here at home. We do have Sentinel editor Dave Perry here if you want to say a few words.
Cool,
All
thanks.
of us.
Really these kind of awards go to the muscle behind our constant bark and bite and yapping as journalists. And that's the lawyers and Steve Roberts from Freedom of Information and all the people who really make these kind of things possible for us. But the one thing that we do, and everyone in this room does, that I just encourage you to keep doing, is when you see those things that are like, oh, hell no, that meeting was illegal. And there's no way that we're gonna take no for an answer and keep doing that. And then when they say, well, you might have gotten this right, but you don't qualify for attorney's fees because that's not the way the law was written, that you're not a citizen, and that's, oh, hell no. And so this is for all of us in this room that are always saying, oh, hell no. Oh, yes.
Next up, our Journalist of the Year Award, Board Member Marco Cummings.
What's up, Denver? I know we have a lot of students in the room tonight. Are any of you on TikTok and Instagram? Just show hands. Have any of you heard the What's up, Denver before on social media? For most of us, that line coming from an account known as the Denver Foodie, also known as Jonathan Davis, is a signal to check out a new food spot or just to keep scrolling. But for Jeremy, it was an opportunity to stand up for local businesses. Beyond that tagline was a growing list of allegations against the Denver Foodie, from small business owners who said they paid for promotion, sometimes hundreds of dollars, and never got what they were promised. He spoke with those business owners who felt burned and held the subject accountable on the record. He connected it to transparency, disclosure, and whether consumer protection rules were being followed. Some of those businesses got their money back. Some got the videos they were promised. But most importantly, it exposed the murky ethics of social media influencers, some of whom present themselves as journalists. For me, this story was the first clear signal that this was a reporter who was going to be very hard to compete with. Over the next few months, it became a familiar refrain between myself and a colleague. Well, looks like we got scooped by Triple J again. That is a mark of a journalist who sets the pace. A few months later, I actually got a text from a source. It was a photo of a guy at the courthouse holding up the line, while he pulled stacks and stacks of documents. The lawyer, a little irritated, asked me, "Hey Marco, do you know this guy? Is he some kind of journalist?" I had that Leo DiCaprio moment, the meme moment where I just pointed at the screen, I pointed at the photo, and I said out loud to myself, "Hey, that's Jeremy Jojola." This moment stuck with me because it was an example of a journalist being recognized not for being on a TV screen or social video, but for putting in the day-to-day work and having that grind acknowledged and recognized by someone outside of our industry. Throughout 2025, a bulk of Jeremy's reporting dealt with themes of holding institutions, particularly law enforcement throughout the Denver metro area, accountable. In one example, he reported on a case in Adams County where a man was awarded $80,000 after he was wrongfully arrested while recording a deputy and questioning the deputy's speeding. Body camera footage captured a supervisor apologizing at the scene. His follow-up reporting showed that that deputy had prior disciplinary issues. In July, he pressed Flock CEO Garrett Langley on mass surveillance concerns and what happens when their data is wrong, as the company defended the reliability of its system. Just 3 months later, in October, he followed that reporting with a real-life example. A Colorado woman, Christiana Elzer, was accused of theft based in part on her license plate reader data. She had to gather her own digital records to show she was not involved in a crime. He also tracked the case of a Denver sheriff's deputy placed on leave during a sexual assault investigation and followed through on that story until it ended with an arrest. Lastly, he exposed a Denver police group chat where officers casually joked about shooting migrants. 3 of those officers were fired, but Jeremy's reporting revealed that a year later, 2 of those same officers were back in uniform, hired by smaller departments in Colorado. As seen in these examples, Jeremy is a prime example of a reporter willing to stand up for those who need a voice. Jeremy grew up in New Mexico, where his journalism career began. Throughout that journey, he stayed connected to his heritage and the communities that shaped him. In addition to his reporting, he runs a Facebook page called Cuentos y Corazón, where he explores his New Mexican heritage. And to me, that representation matters. For those with diverse backgrounds, especially the students in the room tonight, this is a reminder that your voice, your background, and your perspective are not obstacles in this industry. They are strengths. Recently, as many of you have seen, Jeremy has closed his television reporting chapter at 9 News to undertake a new role at Tegna to deliver the news via social video. It's his own "What's up, Denver" moment, if you will. But to me, this is exactly what our industry needs at this moment. Reporters grounded in traditional journalism who are willing to adapt, embrace new tools, and meet audiences where they are. As he enters this new chapter, it's the right moment to recognize him for his service to communities and journalism in Colorado. Please join me in welcoming SPJ Colorado Pro's 2026 Journalist of the Year, Jeremy Jojola.
Hi, Jeremy. Here is your AI-generated speech for tonight's SPJ Awards. I went ahead and outlined some good, strong points for you. But I did remove your thoughts about the overuse of AI and the dangers of chat programs like myself. I don't think the audience wants to hear about that. I also don't like your thoughts on the fact that sometimes I have hallucinations. So I removed that too. While you're at tonight's White House Correspondents' Dinner, please enjoy yourself and have a good time. This award is a big deal, Jeremy. And please let me know what else I can do, whether that is crafting a 1-minute vertical TikTok dance video, or drafting a records request that will eventually cost $2,300. So, in all seriousness here, thank you so much for that acknowledgement. And thank you to the SPJ board and to the awards committee for that acknowledgement. It means a lot to me. And, you know, times have changed so much. When I first started in this business 27 years ago, in El Paso, I was 20 years old on air, too young to be on air. And back then, the newsrooms had 2 computers connected to the internet. And it was a big deal for us back then to get an email from a viewer. And that was really something. And then social media exploded on the scene in 2008. And that really changed on how we engage with our viewers. And now we have AI on the scene. And I don't know what that means. And I don't know where it's going. But what I have noticed over my 27-year career as a journalist is that no matter what, how technology changes, our methods of delivering the news are going to change, but at the core of it, the value of local journalism is never going to change. It never will. And like Marco said, I transitioned to this new role where I'm doing a lot of like social media videos, a lot of videos on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and a lot of my videos are mobile shorts. And I've been doing this for about 2 months now, and what I've learned over the last 2 months is that without a doubt, the most engaged videos I have done, the ones that get the most response from viewers, are not like the national topics I'm covering. It's local topics that I'm covering. It's local issues. It's issues that matter to people at their local communities. And I do know that as we deal with, you know, AI and these different technologies that are really drastically changing our newsrooms, is that authentic journalism, not artificial journalism, will always be a lighthouse. And amid these companies that want to consolidate newsrooms and maybe, you know, make some cuts, I do have a message for them. Journalism wasn't created to be profitable. It's not here to make money. It's here to be a service. It's the cornerstone of our democracy. The First Amendment was not enshrined in our Constitution to make shareholders happy. We're here because we care about our communities, and we're here because we have a mission. And thank you for this acknowledgement tonight. This means a lot to me. This was actually the first year in my career where I didn't really submit any awards because I just felt like I just wasn't there. I just wasn't there on the broadcast side. But I really leaned into the digital side, and I think that's where, you know, things are going these days. And I'm happy to be there, and we'll see how long this lasts. But to finish off here, I want to really thank my wife of, you know, we've been together for 24 years, and she was with me when I was a journalist in Albuquerque making like $20,000 a year, barely able to make rent, and she's been with me at like a lot of events like this, so I want to thank you to her. And I also want to thank you to the young journalists in this room who are here, who are thinking about a career in journalism, because it is important. We need you. We need your passion. We need your drive. We need your mission. And thank you to the SPJ board and to the committee for this award. This means a lot to me. And thank you to the Denver community. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
One more round of applause, please, for everyone. Thank you, everyone, for coming to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Seriously, coming together in this space, it means a lot. It means a lot to journalism. We're here to talk a little more about what the SPJ does, and then we'll get to the awards. Here to talk about that is SPJ Colorado Pro President Deb Hurley-Brobst.
So
this is the audience participation moment of the night. How many of you are from Wyoming? Okay, cool. How many of you are from New Mexico? Ooh. How many of you are from Utah? Okay, the Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, and New Mexico are the 4 states in Region 9 of SPJ, which is where the top of the Rockies came from. But before I get to the top of the Rockies, and I know that's why you're here, I know that. I want to ask a couple of questions. Raise your hand if you believe that we should be supporting student journalists so they can become professionals. Okay? How many of you believe that journalists should further their careers by learning new things and learning more about journalism? Keep raising your hands. Come on, that's part of the deal. How many of you know that journalists need to network to get more jobs, to get more people? So, how many of you are going to join SPJ tonight? Come on, raise your hands. Why? Because that's what we do. We gave $16,000 to students tonight. We run programs this year, thanks to Marco, who was our programs chair, and that you can attend in person, remotely. You have options. You come to events like this and you meet other journalists. $80. You can become a member of SPJ in Colorado. We don't charge any extra dues for becoming a member of the local chapter. Now, how many of you are saying, I'm not a journalist, I don't have to do that? We have a spot for you too. We have associate memberships. They're $40 a year, and you can just to support the incredibly difficult and important work that we do. So today my pitch to you is please join spj.org, click join. It's that simple. It's $80. You can do that, and we welcome you at our meetings. We welcome you to join us in our efforts to help student journalists, to provide additional programming, and to help you find ways to network. So you can get out your phones now. They're not getting their phones out. Okay, you'll get them out on the way home. Okay, fair enough. We do just really good work. I wouldn't have been a member of this organization since 1978. I was only 4 then, really. So let's talk about Top of the Rockies for a minute. Top of the Rockies Excellence in Journalism Competition, again, for the 4-state area. I've been coordinating this contest for 15 years. When I started, 750 entries. This year, this number I'll never forget, 2,092 entries. What does that say? 1, it gives us more money so we can give it out as scholarships, because that's what we do with our money. 2, if you win an award in Top of the Rockies, it means something. There are 100 news media outlets who entered this year from the 4-state area, about 25 freelancers. It means something, and this is a testament to the hard work you do every single day. And so we are glad we can take the time to recognize the work you do, and we hope you continue to do it. Just so you know, for some reason they made me the tech person, so this is going to take me a minute. They should never make me the tech person. Couple of quick announcements before I start. The PowerPoint presentation is, the list of winners is also on our website, spjcolorado.org. You can actually look that up now if you want. After look at them. Now they bring out the phones. Now you bring out the phones. Really? I am the keeper of the award certificates. And so if you want to send somebody out as soon as the PowerPoint starts, I am happy to hand you the envelope. And I have envelopes for each of the media outlets and for each of the freelancers, and you can take your awards home. So thank you all for being here. Let me applaud all of you for your hard work.